Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Can you tell me if you can all see and hear me? I've got a different camera plugged in. If it goes pear shaped, I don't know what it is, but this is a completely different camera, and it's still sitting on top of my laptop. What I will be doing is trying to find a table tomorrow, and then possibly finding a chair to go with it. And then again, I've got to try and sort out this studio area. I'll probably have 2 or 3 cameras set up. I've got some other bit of kit here, which I was going to show you. Not that you'd be terribly interested in how you set all this up, but I then need to set up my other lights, etc., and a big screen in front of me and see if I can get moving with everything. So I'm hoping everyone enjoyed the discussion with Dr. David Martin last night. Hopefully you wasn't disappointed in what we was discussing, etc. I think everyone should know, and there's more coming out today. It appears from what I've seen of videos today that Congress is absolutely panicking, and I just want to make sure everyone gets that. Did you all like the intro video? Because what I'm going to try and set that up as a standard intro if I can, but I've got to work out how to do it on Rumble. Let me have a quick look and see. Archer's not. Hi, Juicy and Lucy. I saw you earlier on Andy's show. I saw you earlier on Andy's show. Oh, yeah. Right, you mean in the chat. Evening, Graham and everyone. Real truth, please. No problem. Tyrants out. Before we do anything else, don't forget, one, give me a 5x5 that you can see and hear me. Tell me what you think of this lighting, and tell me what you think of this camera. This is a completely different camera. It says it's a 4G camera. If it goes off, I'll have to reset. Tell me whether you liked the intro video. Hopefully you all did. I left it up for quite some time, and I'm hoping many people are going to be coming over to have a look. And hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and then as much as we can, share it. So looking good, DD. Okay, as long as it looks all right. I don't know whether it's going to go pear-shaped at some stage during this. If it does, I'll try and do something with it. Let me put this on in the background to make sure everyone's... not sure what this is on. My video parts are not on. I don't know what that means. Live chat's on, everything's out there. So, where's my backgrounds? My backgrounds have gone missing for some reason. Oh well, I've got no idea why that's done that. But hopefully it will be up there. So, again, there's lots of discussions going on out there at the moment. I don't know if anyone see a particular so-called alternative media channel had 2 so-called experts about the Fabian Society, one of whom looks like he just read most of what I'd put on the Daddy Dragon website. The Fabians, the masters of subversion. And on the other side of it, there was a guy that was trying to say that the Fabians are the ones who are orchestrating, let me just say this to you, are orchestrating the English flags all over England popping up. It's the Fabian Society doing that. Let me just make sure everyone is clear on this. The Fabian Society, if you go to their website, I've got Scottish Fabians, Welsh Fabians, Irish Fabians, New Zealand Fabians, Canada Fabians, Australia Fabians. The ones that they haven't got are a British Fabians, because they consider themselves to be British anyway, but there is no English Fabians, right? Karl Marx, absolutely, and the people that followed him, his disciples, if you want to call them that, they absolutely hated the English, right? And he's currently buried in a tomb in Islington in North London, Karl Marx. He also had influence. It is said that he may have even met him, Abraham Lincoln. And if you go back to 1938 in America, with there was a massive conference of the Communist Party of America. I think it was in Chicago. It might have been in New York. And it was in 1948. You can go and research it and see the picture. And on the stage, apart from there being hundreds of thousands of communists in America, at the Communist Convention, the American Communist Party, on the stage, there were 3 deities, statues, monuments, whatever you want to describe them as, right? One was of Lenin, one was of Stalin, and the other one was Abraham Lincoln, right? Just so you understand what's going on. And if you go into the really deep Southern history, and what I mean is by the Southern states of America, right? Not South America, the Southern states of the United Independent States of America, you will note that they all say the Civil War was not about slavery, right? Any real historian will tell you that it was not about slavery. It was about liberty and freedom and the original Constitution of the United States, Independent States of America. And they considered that the Union was reimposing British rule on them. And they was absolutely correct, right? And once people realise what's actually gone on in the background, you'll understand how bad all this stuff is. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the Fabian Society. Amongst my books, I've got original pamphlets. This is Fabian Society, British Labour Movement, Retrospect and Prospect, GDH Cole, right? And again, I have done a lot of research into these people and who they are, what they represent. And in even the first part of this pamphlet, again, this pamphlet is May 1951. So not that long after the Second World War finished. And bear in mind what laws they started to pass to destroy us. All right. And when I say destroy us, I mean the English. Right. The people that won the war were the Soviet Union. Right. I agree. Nazis and communists, in my opinion, are the same side of the coin. As in they are authoritarian, right? So that's completely alien to the English way of life, right? But the British Labour Movement, and again, Ralph Fox Memorial Lecture, April 1951, Fabian Special number 8. And then it tells you what this was about, right? So the guy gave this lecture at Halifax in April 1951 at the request of the Ralph Fox Memorial Committee. It was the first of a series of annual lectures to be given in memory of a citizen of Halifax, right? Well known to the socialist movement and as a writer, he died fighting for his faith, meaning the socialist faith, I believe, in the Spanish Civil War. Ralph Fox was born in Halifax on March the 30th, 1900. From his 20th year, he was actively associated with the Labour movement and the Communist Party. He was best known as a historian for his biography of Genghis Khan, as a literary critic for his association with Left Review, the Daily Review, and New Writing, to which papers he contributed articles, political journalism, and short stories. On the outbreak of the Spanish Civil War, he was volunteered for the International Brigade and served as a political officer for the British Battalion. He was killed in action before Cordoba on June 2nd, 1937. It seemed to me fitting to honour his memory by surveying over the period covered by my own knowledge the changing phases of the Labour development and trying to see what tendencies are at work in the movement today. After the lecture, it was suggested that a printed version might serve as a basis for discussion groups in some of the considerable numbers of the audience. So just to make sure, there was plenty of people at these events, right? And the Fabians were almost, I mean, this is much later, but a complete opposite to the Hamlin Lectures, which is about the common law, liberty and freedom, right? And invariably about the English. It goes on to say, I'm not going to read a lot from this, but I do want people to understand how bad this stuff is, right? He goes on to say he's not really into politics or economics. Why I became a socialist. My conversion to socialism had very little to do with parliamentary politics, which were at the time of it mainly occupied with the struggle over free trade, right, which is what President Trump has taken down in America, and tariff reforms. Right, think about what's going on with the tariffs now. That's why they hate him. Right, he's taking it all back. With the issues of Irish home rule, but not English home rule, right? Although Keir Hardie did believe in home rule for Scotland, right? So there's a number of, and he was a Fabian. The issues with Irish home rule and women's suffrage ranking next in current estimation, and that the trade union rights challenged by the Taff Vale judgment are poor forth. Outside a few industrial areas, I was converted quite simply by reading William Morris's News from Nowhere, which made me feel suddenly and irrevocably that there was nothing except a socialist that it was possible for me to be. I did not at once join the socialist body. I was only 16 and had been, that's why they like youngsters, right? Because you've got no experience of life. I did not at once join them. I was only 16 and had the best part of 3 years more school in front of me. So we already know he weren't working class before going to Oxford, which was already my planned destination. I do not remember even taking a great deal of interest in the general election of 1906 until it was over, when I shared in a common excitement and a wonder about what would happen next. My socialism at that stage had very little to do with parliamentary politics, my instinctive aversion from which has never left me and never will, converted by reading Morris's Utopia. I became a utopian socialist, and I suppose that it is where I've been all my life since. I became a socialist, as many others did in those days, on grounds of morals and decencies and aesthetic sensibility. I wanted to do the decent thing by my fellow men. I could not see why every human being should not have as good a chance in life as I. And I hated the ugliness both of poverty and of the money grubbing way of life that I saw around me as its complement. I still think there are three excellent grounds for being a socialist. Indeed, I know no others as good. They have nothing to do with a particular economic theory or theory of history, or they are based on worship or efficiency. Now, without going into too much, they have nothing to do with Marxism or Fabianism or even Labourism, though all these have no doubt a good deal to do with them. Right? And then it goes in and it talks about lots of stuff. Socialist prospect 40 years ago. And it tells you basically what they're doing. And it tells you in detail, it talks about the Russian Revolution, the new Labour Party of 1918, the acceptance of gradualism, the non-communist left, which is the real Labour group, Montourism and McDonaldism, the Labour Party of 1931, foreign policy 1930. It goes all the way through this, but one of the things that people really need to understand, it talks about so much. And Ian Dowles, one of Ian Dowles' favourite people, Ian Fowl I should call him, bearing in mind what he was, I think he was a Lib Dem or a Tory. He tried to be a Conservative MP. One of his favourite people was Devlin. I think it was Devlin. Let me make sure I've got the name right, because it is there. and it's not good. Why I'm saying this is because people don't realise, and I don't know if many people know this or not, but I was actually on a hustings with one of the whips of the main whip of the Tory party, and on that hustings, I said to him he was a Fabian. By the way, he come from Essex, and then he lived in Bexley, and he'd made all his money out of politics, right? And he said he wasn't a Fabian. And I said, but you went to the London School of Economics, which is a communist Marxist university. He said, no, it isn't. This is on hustings. And people in the audience actually got on their phones and looked it up and come straight back to him and said, he's right. It is a Fabian university. And you went to a Fabian university. So you must have communist views. Why would you go to that university? Cambridge and Oxford are exactly the same. By the way, Eton's even worse. For people who believe that they control and rule over you. That's why most of the people running the country went to Eton. And if they didn't go to Eton, they went to Oxford or Cambridge. Or, as we can all now see, the Fabian Society University, which is the London School of Economics. What does that mean? It means for a very, very long time, certainly not at least 150 years. I've taken it back all the way back to 1815 that the rot really set in. And then it's advanced slowly ever since, which is Fabianism. Karl Marx himself, actually, it was one of his friends. He co-wrote the Communist Manifesto. Wrote that so it wasn't Marx that wrote it. It was, I think his name's Eccles, the co-writer of the Communist Manifesto, Communist Party Manifesto, wrote about England. That every communist revolution has been shipwrecked on the rock of England. Why? Because of our laws, right? So, again, Hamlin Lectures, you can get all of this free of charge. Constitutional Fundamentals, Sir William Wade, one of our best scholars. I'll go through these because I think people, Lord Devlin, Trial by Jury, Hamlin Lectures, right? And again, they're trying to take our juries away. They took our main juries, meaning grand juries, away before in 1929, I think it was. But my whole point to you is that this country is now completely communist. So without depressing too many people, because I don't want to do that, I do want everyone to understand a single thing, right? And that is, if you don't understand who you are, I can't help you, right? So we've got particular issues at the moment in Epping and all over the country. The more and more people are raising the English flag. But, I have literally stopped following, and in many cases, I have completely blocked people with a British flag. Unfortunately, the people in Epping, and certainly it looks as if it's the leaders of that group, are raising the British flag. I've said to people before, and I'll say it again, the people that are aiding and abetting the rape of English children all over England, I'm only interested in England, right, are the British. It is the British Union that has done that, and it is all parties. It's the Uni Party, and that now includes, by the way, Reform Party and Advance UK. Neither will talk of England, right? None of them will. Now, there's 40 million English, literally 40 million English. and there are 10 million, so they are minority, British, they are in control. Of that 10 million British, 5 million at a minimum are foreigners. Right? When you use and show and display the British Union flag, whilst you may be doing it in ignorance, and I accept that, you are still a collaborator. That's the way I see you. And I can't, I don't want, I'm not here to persuade people that they're English, right? The English already know they're English. They don't need persuading. You are my audience. I am not interested in alternative media. I am not interested in mainstream media that is British. Not interested one iota, right? It is our job to communicate to the English, and that's what we're going to be doing. So I do want to show you something that's out there at the moment. Hopefully you can still see everything and everything's working all fine and dandy. And don't forget to share, because sharing is very helpful. So there's lots of people I have blocked now. I was supposed to have a number of telephone calls with people that didn't come. They're not interested, right? They've been caught in the limelight, and they're now being steered completely in the wrong direction, right? I can't afford to waste any time with them people anymore. Listen, I first went on a march in Welling when I was 16 years old, right? You've run out of time. You're not running out of time. You've run out of time, right? And if you don't understand who the people are that are aiding and abetting, which is exactly what they're doing, the rape of English children all over this country, then I really can't help you. And if you start getting arrested, you start these things, they send you to prison, you go and get your British solicitors, you go and get your British barristers, and they all say the same thing. Basically, you're going to get banged up for a long time. You're the one who's supporting the British, not me. And I don't need to waste my time with that. We're doing very well without being drawn in to trying to persuade people that they're British rather than English, right? And especially those that should really know better, right? So let me just see if I can find you this. I don't know where it's gone, so I'll have to find it back in my own elements, right? So don't think I'm being negative towards people. I'm not being negative towards anyone. I'm just saying it's always been my strategy, which is the English and the English Constitution, constitutional and common law rights. It has always been my strategy to communicate with English people, not with people who consider themselves to be British, and half of them, even though they're a minority of about 10 million people, maybe 11 million people, depends how many they've reported so far, but at least half of them are foreigners. I'm not interested in that, and I'm certainly not interested in talking to people who are aiding and abetting the enemy. So what I want to do is show you this. So touch wood, this is going to work. Soon see if this all starts playing up, because it seems to be when I start sharing it, don't like it, although I didn't share anything last night. Let me bring this up on your screen. Can you tell me if you can see this? Give me a 5 if you can see this on the screen. And what I'm going to do is bring this back up. So I need as many people as possible to go and vote on this, right? So I've put it out there. It's on Twitter. And I've simply said this, right? Now, this is an opportunity where everyone is now talking about England, and many of the English are getting it in a big way, right? So just to make sure you all understand this, if there was a referendum on English independence only for the English, right? So for the English only, right? As we have never had our own national referendum, how would you vote? Question mark. And by the way, stronger together is the Soviet slogan, right? Just to make sure. So if anyone says stronger together, they must understand that that is a Soviet slogan, and you can go and look that up and they'll tell you it come from the Soviet Union, right? Right. Would you vote leave the British Union, or would you vote remain in the British Union? And so far, there's 231 votes. There's 21 hours left, and it is 93.1% have answered that and said 93% of people would leave, 6.7% people would remain, right? Now, I'm expecting that to end up as 80-20, right? So because 80 to 85% of England but believes that they're English and actually do want to leave the British Union, right? And it would be the best thing you could do for the world, right? It's the cleanest way of getting rid of what we've currently got there, right? Again, people need to realise that the highest form of turnout ever recorded in this country was for a referendum, right? So referendums, generally speaking, and especially to do with nationality, have very high turnouts. The problem you've got is that alternative media, Talk TV, GB News, so-called alternative channels everywhere, on YouTube especially, Facebook especially, they are basically British by nature, and they have control. So it's got to be done by us, right? So don't forget, the 28th of September, I will be in Leigh-on-Sea in Essex giving a seminar. So we need to bring that information up, which I will do in a couple of minutes. But if Juicy and Lucy can send it to me, or put it in the moderators channel on WhatsApp, and I'll bring it up and show people. But we need to advertise that and get the biggest possible group of people there. And I will do a full seminar. It isn't, I mean, if anyone's ever been to my seminars, it's about English law. And what I do is I show them that all their rights, all of the constitutional statutes, most of the common law is pre the Acts of Union, right? And again, there is no such thing in this country as British law. There never has been. There's English law, English and Welsh law. There is Scottish law, which is a separate jurisdiction, and there is Northern Ireland, which is also common law, but it is a different jurisdiction. And in fact, my law books tell me exactly that our countries are completely separate, right? So anyone who says stronger together, what I am referring to is going back to what's known as a common law union, not a statutory union. And we would void, not repeal, but we would void everything. So again, that is on the screen for you to look at. Let me see if I can go and find that for you again. Let me see if anyone's gone and voted on it. So we've currently got 240 votes. Let's see how many we've got now. 240 votes. I've put that out there. If anyone who hasn't, I want you to retweet it as well. Maximize the retweets. Quote it if you can, because that strengthens the algorithm. Hit the like button and hit the button there that says add to your bookmarks, right? Because that strengthens, so more and more people are seeing it. So far, it has had 1,553 views, and we are getting up even further. We're nearly at 94% vote leave of the British Union, right? And then below that, one of our great people that follow us on there and very helpful in the background, devolution and home rule, right? So we don't want devolution. Devolution is not what we're talking about. That is a really bad word, right? But depicted there is Northern Ireland, Scotland, England, still waiting for the first ever referendum. That's absolutely correct, by the way. Better together, stronger together, all in this together, a better England is possible, right? So what people must understand is that the common law union was the best form of union, because we didn't interfere with Scotland, they didn't interfere with us. We actually had tariffs on a number of nations in Europe because we had a strong economy, exactly what Trump's doing now. And it was Scotland that was circumventing those tariffs by allowing the others, the Europeans, to import the goods to Scotland, and they was bringing them over the border to England, and the merchants in Scotland was all having it right off. Because they was bringing over, in effect, duty-free goods straight over the border into England, and then destroying our economy by doing that. And one of the reasons that they wanted and they did want the union, even though there was riots by the working class, the merchant class, right, or the upper classes, the middle classes, whatever you want to describe them in Scotland, they did want the union, and they did it purely for financial reasons. So again, on your screen, you can see that England, a parliament now, but what we do not want is devolution. What we do want is home rule. Devolution is not. Devolution is a construct of the Fabian Society and the European Union, right? So Northern Ireland has had 2 referendums. Indy ref will be Scotland's 5th referendum. So Wales has had 3 referendums on different things. England has never had its own referendum ever on anything. We are the only nation that have been completely denied a referendum, and especially on the union. So I'm asking you as the English, right, to go back and literally make sure everyone understands that. So far we've got, let me just push this out there. We've got 240 votes, and I am trying to get that more. Let me stop sharing a second and see if I can go back to where we were, right? So did you all understand that? Hopefully you can all see and hear me. And tell me what you think of this camera, because I've just it's a plug and play. I've just stuck it straight in and it's come up on the screen. I don't know. It's one of the ones I've got in all my kit here. I went, where's that camera gone? I'm going to find it. I don't know whether it's that the other camera, this camera, whether it's the laptop. And it couldn't have been a laptop because it used to do it on the other machine. So there's something going on with the transmission rates. My picture we want out. Please vote and share. Put this post out. I voted and shared. Jules and 67. Well done. That wing will not. We are in the right pickle on our farm as we have British white cattle. I don't know what that means. Camera is looking good, DD. Well done, Jules. And over to you. Yes, indeed. New Age Templar. I just voted. Well done, Brill. Let me go. I'll go back and have a couple of look in a minute. It's Steve Lomas. How you doing, son? Just to let everyone know, I did actually email the High Court and say, look, do you know when this judgment's coming out? And they've come back and said, no, they're still working on it. But it looks like it is going to, I believe, going to be quite a deep judgment. They see that the type of interest that was there from yous. And like I say, they're likely going to be trying to hit me with costs. So far, just under £500,000, right? DD, was camera set to power save or something time out? No, there's no power save on it at all. I've just voted to leave. Chris Morrissey, well done. So the main objects of tonight is to make sure that you understand exactly who and what we are, right? The reason this is called the Full English Show, right, is because we are the only people, we're the only political party out there that is only concerned with England and the English, right? We are not British. There are many ways of protecting the English in this country, and there's plenty of ways of standing up against the regime, but you can only do it if you're using the English, the real English common law, not this iffy stuff. I think it was LSB. Let me see if I can bring that up, because in fact I have got it on there, right? I don't know whether this will play properly, and I'm not even sure if I can play it on here, because it'd probably take me out on YouTube. But I don't know if it is real. I know that Chris is fine with it. But he created, let me go see if I can bring that up on your screen for you. He did a video today, right? You might want to pop over and say hello to him. Right, there he is. Let me just play a little bit of it.
In the courtroom shouting, "I do not consent. I stand under common law."
Let me put it all the way back.
Have you seen those viral clips where people stand in the courtroom shouting, "I do not consent. I stand under common law," and then with
for some reason that's gone pear-shaped. It may not like me doing it straight out.
within seconds they're either ignored, fined, or escorted out. From the free man of the land movement to people waving the Magna Carta 1215, in modern courts, these arguments keep failing. But why? And here's the sad truth, and that's most of these defences collapse because they're built on pseudo-law, made-up legal theories that don't hold up. Meanwhile, the real power lies in areas where most people don't even look at: citizenship law, expatriation, and international human rights law. So if you've been searching for why free man of the land fails, or does the Magna Carta still apply, or can you really opt out of government, then stick around. This is going to surprise you.
Right, so what I'm going to do, it's a great video, by the way, and if anyone wants to go and have a quick look at that and put a message on there, I've put a comment on there. Let me see if I can go back to where we are first. So I'm going to put that on there. Well, that's his video. And what I'm going to do is go back to that video a second. Hopefully, you should see a comment on there. It'd be very strange if that was the case. I don't think I'm the only comment on there. But I watched the whole video and I said, wow, this is good, very good, but not 100% perfect. If you go and listen to what he says, Just Causes, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that the correct way, is international common law, right? Not administrative law. And it is powerful, but ratification of an international treaty is not domestic law until it is passed by Parliament. UNCAT and CJ and Criminal Justice Act 1988, Section 134, torture, is a good example, right? So in other words, it was an international ratified treaty, which was then brought into domestic law, right? Although they've tried to hide it from you. Whilst statute is law, it must comply with the English Constitution and common law. Dr. Bonham's case of 1610 and the Fulben versus Sunderland City Council, otherwise known as the Metric Martyrs case. This is clear that there is a hierarchy of laws and, in effect, a hierarchy of parliaments. A convention parliament is supreme over all ordinary parliaments, and the Bill of Rights has a supremacy clause nullifying external rulers, even the European Convention on Human Rights, which is why the Fabians passed the Human Rights Act of 1988, because they knew they had to bring into domestic law the European Convention on Human Rights as a ratified treaty, if you want, a legal treaty. And to do that, they brought in the HRA 1998. In effect, through various entrenched laws and judgments, Parliament can only make ordinary laws that cannot override your rights unless it states that on the face of the bill. If it doesn't, then it can be struck down, or you elect people that will strike it down. Parliament was created by a king in council and the common law. First Statute of Westminster, 1275, and Chapter 5 is still law. No corrupt elections, right? Does everyone sort of understand what it is that I've just said on that comment? And if you want to go and have a look at that and see what it says. Now, again, people really do need to, and there are many very experienced scholars now. Funny enough, one of them is Norwegian. All of that information is on this other computer, and I've got to get that up and running again. Pretty lively. Hopefully, I'll have it all working over the weekend. But people need to understand there are people that agree with this. So Sir John Laws, even Sir Stephen Sedley, who wrote the book Lions Under the Throne. The lions were supposed to be the judges supporting the crown, but also protecting the people, right? And even though he confessed to be a communist, and he was a High Court judge, Sir Stephen Sedley, he is one of the people who said that Parliament is not sovereign. If anything, the Constitution is sovereign. That's exactly what Sir John Laws said, who wasn't a communist, as far as I know. And Sir William Wade said the same thing. Again, there is a book here. Whether or not I can bring it out and show you where it says it is another matter. Let me have a quick look and see if I can find it on my... Oh, there it is. Again, this is a fantastic book. So, again, an original, when I say original book, it's obviously, let me stop sharing, let me go back to this. Right. So do you all understand what I've just said to you? This sounds complex, but it isn't, right? It is really quite simple. And then if you have a look at this book, and you'll see many clips, pages, bits and pieces I've got all over this where I read through it. This is a book on judicial review, and there's a number of things that it tells you, right? Now, again, I've got to go back through this and make sure, because I'm going to start writing this up so people, that one of the first things about the new book that I'm writing for you is for you to every little bit of case history I can find and people that say Parliament is not sovereign, right? So they're not necessarily saying you're sovereign, which I'm saying you are, right? And there's a simple reason for that, that if you prorogue Parliament, where does sovereignty return to? The people, right? Because they're then electing their new government, right? And again, technically, if you didn't have political parties, the king can pick his ministers, right? That's how it used to operate, right? So I want everyone to understand that. That's how it used to be done. You wasn't just handed a portfolio. You had to have experience of that portfolio. I mean, from a nuts and bolts type of thing, right? Right, so I'm just going to make sure I sort of read this to you because it is important. There's elements of this. A statute may confer a discretion without any apparent limits on its exercise, but the court will not merely ascertain whether the act is done within the express words of the statute. It will strike it down if it is done in breach of a well-established principle of fairness, reasonableness in the Wednesbury sense, or so far as to run counter to the policy and objects of the Act. Padfield versus Westminster Agriculture Fisheries 1968, right? Now, this isn't a massively old book, right? But it tells you the difference between ultra-vires, etc. And it goes through, and then it tells you the difference between repeal, and this is from a law lord, right? Repeal and nullity, right? In other words, making something void or abolishing it. And it's important that people understand the major difference. So this is what Lord Reid said, and the declaration short was granted, right? So you can ask for a declaration on law, right? Which is what a declaration of mandamus, a declaration on law, and you can do it in the common law, and you can do it, and it should really go to the King's Bench. It shouldn't really go to an administrative court, right? And especially if you're claiming private right injury, right? It's really important that people understand that. Private right injury, what they're trying to do is force that out, right? Because it's the common law. And they're imposing upon you administrative law. You've got to stand up. I must say this to everyone, right? If you don't claim your rights, you've lost them, right? And even Lord John Somers said that, who is he is the framer, or one of the framers of the English Bill of Rights, right? And so did Lord Holt say that, right? So again, and he was the one who judged Ashby versus White. So I'm going to read this to you. I have come without hesitation to the conclusion that in this case, we are not prevented from inquiring whether the order of the Commission was a nullity. It has sometimes been said that it is only where a tribunal acts without jurisdiction that it is a decision of nullity. But in such cases, the word jurisdiction has been used in a very wide sense. And I have come to the conclusion that it is better not to use the term except in narrow and original sense of the tribunal being entitled to enter onto the inquiry in question. But there are many cases where, although the tribunal had jurisdiction to enter the inquiry, it has done or failed to do something in the course of the inquiry, which is of such nature that its decision is a nullity, right? Now, in the case of Noel Cox, is it? That's exactly what's happened, right? So I'm not just saying this. This is all in these law books, right? He should appeal, and he should say, I've asked the judge to do this, and he is rejected for these reasons, and I'm going to bring something else up in a couple of minutes. There's some people out there that I really do want to help, right? I'm not just saying that. You don't have to say I've got anything to do with it in the background. I'm not asking for someone to rubber stamp me as some whatever, right? All I want to do is assist them and help them. They don't pay me anyway. They won't pay me. The courts won't pay me. I've won cases. I've got criminal convictions quashed, right? They won't pay me. They refuse to pay me because I'm not part of their system, but I still won, right? My objective is for you to win the argument. It is not for me to get recognition, but it is for us to claim our rights under private law jurisdiction, right? And that is, they must make an action of mandamus is an important thing, right? But we're going to get, I've gone off track slightly, but I'm going to, has done or failed. Nature, its decision is a nullity. It may have given its decision in bad faith. It may have made a decision which had no power. It had no power to make. It may have failed in the course of the inquiry to comply with the requirements of natural justice. It may, in perfectly good faith, have misconstrued the provisions given it power to act, so that it failed to deal with the question remitted to it and decided that some question which was not remitted to it. It may have refused to take into account something which was required to take into account, or it may have based its decision on some matter at which, under no provision setting it up, it had no right to take into account. I do not intend this list to be exhaustive, but if it decides a question remitted to it for decision without committing any of these errors, it is as much entitled to decide that question wrongly as it is to decide it rightly, right? So again, when you get into this, and it's really important, their other lordship said Lord Morris, who dissented, agreed that the result arrived at by Lord Reid and their reasoning is nowhere inconsistent with this. There had been doubt whether, in truth, the consequence of anti-Semitic was to set at rest the distinction between errors within and errors without jurisdiction. See the discussion in Wade, Administrative Law, 6th edition, page blah, blah, blah. But Lord Diplock has roundly acknowledged it to be so, right? Now it goes in, and he goes into this. So William Wade does not agree that the ultra-vires rule is of itself no longer a helpful concept in analysis of public law. He considers, and this is public law, as a matter of analysis, the basis of reviewing invalid acts is that they are void, right? Void. So again, this is where it gets into it. Administrative Law 6th edition, page 349. Void or voidable is a distinction which applies naturally and without difficulty to the basic distinction between action which is ultra vires and action which is liable to be quashed for error or on the face of the record. Action which is ultra vires is unauthorized by law, right? So I want you all to understand something I'm telling you, right? The supremacy clause of the English Bill of Rights, which came from a convention parliament, is the ultimate law, right? It's a supremacy clause. And these people now in Epping, for whatever reason, have been led down a different path. And that's why I've got to say to everyone, listen, drop me out, right? I'll help people who want to be helped. If they don't want to be helped and they want to go their own path, right, carry on doing what you're doing. Let me tell you something, this country has been banging trouble for 150 years, right? You're just carrying on with the same thing. That's it, right? And one of the reasons is because people are only listening to the people who have been educated in Cambridge, Oxford, Eton. All these barristers and lawyers who are in the ruling classes there, right? Or have come out of the Fabian Society, which is the London School of Economics. Many of these professors are misinstructing people in law. In fact, they all are, right? But who am I? I'm just a working class guy, right? I've only read law for the best part of 30 years, right? What do I know? Because I haven't been to one of their training establishments and haven't been brainwashed. And by the way, they're doing exactly that. They're putting laws through in now to make sure that you can't put your kids in your own care and teach them yourself, right? You must have state education, right? You must have state programming. That's what we're talking about. So again, the basic distinction between action which is ultra-vires and action which is liable to be quashed for error on the face of the record. Action which is ultra-vires is unauthorized by law, right? Outside of jurisdiction, null and void, and of no legal effect whatsoever. But an order vitiated merely by error on its face is intra-vires and within jurisdiction, but liable to be quashed because of the exceptional powers of control which the courts established 3 centuries ago and which they recently revived, right? The revival is a reference to R.V. Northumberland Compensation Appeal Tribunal, ex parte Shaw, 1952. Wade continues, an order which is ultra vires within any of the ramifications of the doctrine can only be void. Once the court condemns it as being void, it is seen to have been destitute of all legal effect from the outset. An order which is merely voidable, on the other hand, has legal effect up until the time when it is quashed, and in respect of that period, it remains a valid order even after being quashed, right? So there's a difference between it being made void is seen to have been destitute of all legal effect from the outset. People need to understand the difference between repealing, right, and make void. Make void means abolish, right? And it means that once that decision is made, and especially by the people, once that decision is made to say it's null and void, it should never have been in effect for the first place. The greatest example of that, for any of these people out there pretending that they wanted to leave the European Union, when I say pretend, you all accepted repealing the European Communities Act of 1972. That should never have been repealed. That should have been made void. And the reason was because it went completely against, that we know, it went against the sovereignty of the nation. It went against the supremacy clause of the English Bill of Rights. And by the way, the Scots have got a claim of right of 1689, right? So It's not as if it just affects England. It affected Scotland as well. And then if Scotland wants to renounce and pull back from the claim of right, it is perfectly entitled to do that. Put it on the face of a bill, put it to the Scottish people and say, listen, we want nothing to do with England. We don't want a claim of right. We don't want Protestants in Scotland. We don't want all this. We want to take it all down and we want to join the European Union, right? Good luck with that. So there's a lot more information on here, but all I'm trying to say to you is I don't get these things, right? I don't make them up, right? There it is. This particular one is Supperson and Gouldy, right? And I'll have to go through that because it's probably going to be part to do with our appeal, right? But the major issues here, I'm trying to get across to people. If you are these people that are protesting all over the country and you're being arrested by British police officers that are no longer trained in the Constitution of England, and they are banging you up and locking you up, you are then calling on a British solicitor, a British barrister who has been misinstructed on the law and the constitutional rights and your common law rights, is literally an administrative law junkie that gets paid to tick a box. He don't go down the cells, you do, right? And they're the people that you're trusting. And again, if you're, you know, it beggars belief. I'll just sit there and think, why am I bothering? Well, I don't mean with what I'm doing now, right? I mean, I've had people contact me. Can you do this? Can you do that? I'm not having a dig at them, right? I'm just saying, drop me out. If you still fly the British flag, right, and you still if you call yourself British, which by the way, in 1948, 2 years after we allegedly won World War II, we did not. The biggest psyop in the world is that we won World War II. We did not win World War II. I can tell you that now. And I have a distinct feeling that the king was nutted off, was killed, right? And then Princess Elizabeth became Queen Elizabeth II, right? And it was held in place literally as a holding thing until she died. And they said, right, now tell everyone they lost the war. That's literally what's happening. And it's not a conspiracy theory, people. You can look back and see what happened. In 1948, they completely illegally, right, modified the English Bill of Rights by taking chapter 2, the top part of the paragraph and the bottom part of the paragraph, and they made themselves sovereign. Parliament made itself sovereign. That's otherwise known as a Politburo or a Star Chamber. That's what they've done. And that's when, in reality, administrative law really kicked in, right? And you don't want to be involved with administrative law. That's European Union way of governing people, right? Drop out the juries, just have 3 judges, all paid by the state, right? You're going down all day long, right? The jury system is the only system that can literally get. A jury is the only person that can stand there, even if the judge is not allowed to direct them to find you guilty. That's why you can't use barristers. You can't use solicitors. You've got to be the one talking to the jury, and you've got to know what to say to them, right? And the judge can't stop you, right? And the judge cannot. I read out an article the other day. Did anyone remember that article I read out from the Daily Telegraph, where an old judge said, like, literally, he had someone there that was bang guilty, right? He couldn't direct the jury that they was guilty, right? And they unanimously found him not guilty. But all these people pleading guilty, all these people, and then even if they plead not guilty, and even if they go for a jury trial, their barristers and solicitors are not with them. They're with the state. That's exactly what happened to Lucy Letby, right? And yet everyone is still sitting there waving this British flag, the British Union, the political union flag, right? Not everyone. I mean, the whole country is coming out. Listen, what they fear is the English. They fear us, right? We're the major majority of this island. If you stand up as an Englishman and English woman, we will all take our rights back. Who is the person who majorly deceived you? Do you want me to tell you who it was? Tommy Robinson. Majorly deceived you, right? Because he started out, like they all do, putting up the English flag, English Defence League, and then all the English patriots come out, right? English flags and all that. And slowly he vilified the English movement. What does he do on stage now? Bearing in mind he wrote a book, Enemy of the State, right? I've got the book. He wrote that book. I rung him the best part of 15 years ago, right? I was given his mobile number and I said, you need to do one or two things, Tommy. You need to become a politician or a journalist. And if you don't, they're going to kill you, right? It's as simple as that. And he went, who's this? Who's this? And I told him who I was. Where did you get my number from? I just got your number. But I'm telling you, right, if you're writing books about being the enemy of the state, there's only two ways in which you're going to survive, right? And that is you become a politician or you become a journalist, right? And what he has done, he's now moved over and he's put in British, even though, and by the way, the reason why he won't back England or the English, one group of people out there more than anyone else, right? One group of people more than anyone else do not want English independence. Who do you think it is? I'll ask you, the audience, if you know the answer to this question. Some of you who've listened to me before know the answer. But tell me who you think it is that absolutely does not want English independence. Who do you think it is? I'll wait for the answer to come up as I see some of these things coming in there. Put in the actual thing, 4B2s. 4B2s, I like it. Small hats with big noses. Jews. Israel. All right? Because if you null and void the acts of union for being in bad faith, right, that means it was never in place. That means anything created under its authority, every law since 1707 would be null and void, right? 1706, 1707. Null and void meaning that it had no authority and it didn't have jurisdiction. As if you can do that. We can do that, right? But and there are ways of doing it, right? So this is the biggest issue, right? Why is it that Israel wouldn't want that? Why do you think Tommy Robinson is now cheering on and all about the IDF and Mossad and a Zionist? Because they know that the movement was building in a big way, right? So does Nigel Farage, right? Because Nigel Farage only really coming into UKIP to destroy the English independence movement. Believe it or not, it was a massive movement. They had well in excess of 30,000 members. This is the English independence movement, right? It was destroyed by UKIP, right? That's why I don't like UKIP. That's why I don't like the people who encouraged me to be in UKIP. But I only ever waved the English flag, never the British flag, right? And I want everyone to understand something here. If you null and void the Acts of Union, that means the Balfour Agreement has no authority, right? It's null and void. The Palestinian Mandate of 1923 is null and void. And the partition of Palestine of 1948, I think it was, is null and void. And even worse, Pakistan wouldn't exist, right? It basically gives the hotspots around the world the biggest reset ever, right? And the way that they deal with that reset is down to them, right? Again, I'll go back to it, and I want to show you something else because I think it's important. Tommy Robinson is a Metro Bipper enjoyer, whatever. I don't know what that was. I can't even read it properly. Let me have a look and see if there's any questions. Someone says, I've had a block 44 idiots tonight. Who's that? If you think they are banned and ban them genuinely isn't, they will no doubt contact Graham. If I don't know what. So listen, you're the moderators. You ban whoever you want to ban, right? Well, as long you know, it's your decision, right? I'm not going to interfere with that. All right. Let me have a quick look, which is why we're so careful about who we make moderators. What did I want to look at? I want to look at something here, right? Well, let me have a look. And there's a few of these cases. Let's see if it's coming up. It's just struggling to come up. It's just through the Heavens Falls, the most famous and effective by Lord Mansfield in 1977, Somerset. Stuart, he also said the phrase when he was impatient with the lawyers for not settling the case and wanted a judgment to be made regardless of consequences. While the phrase is older, it's used in, so it could have been, it was originally used. It says here, I'll have to go and check that one. It was originally used in the Somerset case, and then it says it was used prior to that in 1646. Somerset, and then let me see if I can go and find some more. I might have to go and do that again because I want to keep that up there while I'm doing my research. Again, most of these people, they won't use any of these cases, right? Because they're British. And they don't. They want Parliament to be sovereign. Right, there was a case. I've got to go and have a look. I will find it. It's pinging into my memory as I'm speaking. Lord Denning, blah blah blah. Let the heavens fall in report your case, but the Latin phrase, blah 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 blah. There was a particular case, right? So if it wasn't Lord Denning, I believe it was. All right, I'll find another one in a minute. I can't do the research while I'm online. It'd be a bit mad. But it was let the heavens fall, let justice be done. In other words, I'm not here for any other reason, only to uphold the law. And the law is this. So the problem is always with other people, right? So if the council, there's a particular case I'm thinking of, and I will go and have a look at it and bring it up. This is a recent case, but it goes back through history. There's about 5 of these cases where they use that term. And it's where the plaintiff defendant, right, barrister, whatever, has argued, like, if you find against this, it's going to create chaos, right? And it's going to bankrupt us, and this is going to happen. And then the judge has turned around and said, basically, if chaos, the wording was, if chaos ensues, let the heavens fall, let justice be done, right? And the judge is basically saying, that's not my problem. You're the one who has acted unlawfully, not the plaintiff, right? And therefore, right, my job as a judge is to tell you, we don't care. We're not interested. The law is the law and must be obeyed, right? That was a Lord Denning one. And it's in relation to these cases that I'm going to try and find for someone. That's it. We've gone on for a little while. I'm hoping you've all enjoyed this. I'm just really testing out my new camera. I haven't brought anything up. I've got to try and get this other desk gear, and then I can have everything set up properly, click through things, bring it all up, and then I'll have a little desk sorted out here. That's it. I am going. Anyone got any questions or anything they want to say to me? What's it? English Constitution, Common Law. That seminar, there it is. Right. Again, I want to advertise this before we go. Right, so everyone understands what this is. Before we go, I'm going to show you this. Right, so don't forget, we've got the English Constitutional and Common Law Seminar, Lee on Sea, Sunday the 28th of September 2025 at 1:30 p.m. Get there for 1:30 p.m. And again, it's at Cafe Hogar Del Mar. We're going to put this information out there. Everyone should have it anyway. I need to be putting that on all my videos so you know where it is. English Constitution Society. Discover your inalienable and constitutional rights, what they are, why they matter, where they came from, and how the state is working to take them away. Find out what you can do to protect your freedoms before it's too late. Well, one of the things you can do to protect your freedoms before it's too late is do not fly the British flag, right? Nowhere on that document do you see, on that flyer, do you see an English flag, right? So you've got, a British flag. You've got an English flag, you've got a Scottish flag, a Northern Irish independence flag, a Welsh flag, which only came about in 1948. You've got a Cornish flag and you've got an Irish flag, right? An English constitutional expert, I don't think I am, but more than 30 years experience of reading law, a registered paralegal, I am, founding member of the English Constitution Society, I am, and there are many of us who are members, right? So there it is. I just want to make sure everyone understands that. And the most important phrase you're ever going to hear, right? Self-determination is the number one human right. So there it is. It's on there. The address, again, right bang on your screen. If you want to take a picture of that little device on the left-hand side, or if you want to go there, if you go onto the actual website, you can book the tickets. And bearing in mind, we've got to sell a few tickets because it's now covering my costs coming all the way from Devon, petrol, up to Leigh-on-Sea. Then I've got to stay in an hotel. Then I'm coming back the next day, right? But we can have a beer there until about 12:30, right? So stop sharing. I'm going to go back to the main screen. Did you all get that, by the way? Did you all see that on the screen? So good night. God bless to everybody. Don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution. And I just want everyone to know it's England. And there's enough of us to stand up and take this country back. At least 40 million of us. They're terrified of the English. And yet still these people are being pushed in the wrong direction. My job is not to persuade. I don't want to be wasting my time with 5% of the 5% of the population that believe they're British, right? The other 5% are foreign anyway. The 5% that believe they're British, right? I don't need to waste my time with them. There's nearly 70% of us who know that we're English, right? So it's a bit grafty trying to sort all that out. But everyone understand this. There is more coming. We're going to be doing a lot more, and I will be travelling around, making people aware. And again, the biggest struggle is against these people who call themselves solicitors and barristers. Their allegiances to the bar. They have created a monopoly. In any form of monopoly, you don't have merit anymore. It's a tick box to get where you're going because he's a Pahlavis and he's a Pahlavis, and you don't get the right people in there. That never used to be the way, right? And yet that's what they've done, and that's why you've seen the legal profession as bad as it is, right? The only people that get justice in this country are very, very rich people, and that's not the way it should be. That's it. Good night. God bless. And I will see you again tomorrow evening, where I hope to have some more stuff sorted out.